opportunity in maybe 47 years right now.
That's why pressure's on, and God's been raising up people all over this country to stand up. And the thing is that most people don't realize is that the church is the answer. It's not the government or politicians, it's the church. It's when we wake up to the light and say, no, we're not going to stand for this. We're going to stand for what God wants. The homosexuals have only 2% of the population, and yet they persecute Americans. According to the Pew Foundation, we have over 70% of children. And we can't do anything. And the reason is because the church is full of sin. We got sin in the camp. We need to deal with it. We have to repent. We have to see God. We have to bear fruit. We're in trouble. I mean, it's sad to say. Like I say, I don't like having to say things like that. But half the pastors, according to Pure Desire Ministry, 2014, half the pastors are addicted to porn in this country, and 68% of evangelical men are addicted to porn. I mean, we have a horrible problem of sin in the kingdom. And just like God told Joshua when Achan took something under the band, you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
God says, I'm not with you.
A Babylonian garment, a wedge of gold, and
That's right.
buried it in his tent.
That's right. But the thing was, an Ai defeated them, a small little town defeated Israel, because God wasn't with them because they had sin in the camp. We have sin in the camp, and until we deal with our sin, God ain't going to bless us.
Well, I'll join you in praying that God changes America and we no longer allow legalized abortion. Thank you for your
But how does he change America? Because I was challenged by that same thing until I got together with these crazy guys. I was challenged with the same thing. How does God work? How does God change America?
I think you just look at 2,000 years. How did the Roman Empire change? How do countries change?
Through the preaching of the gospel.
The gospel of Jesus
Amen.
Christ.
So we have to get out.
Transformed hearts.
Amen.
You can't legislate morality. You can't force it on people. They'll do what they want.
Well, everybody legislates morality. It just depends on what morality.
Yeah, but it doesn't. You don't change somebody's heart.
No.
So that's the law, right?
Right.
What the law could not do, Jesus Christ did do.
Amen.
Because he gives us a new heart.
Right.
He takes away our heart of flesh, gives us a heart of takes away our heart of stone, gives us a heart of flesh.
Through
that
the
we
preaching
can
of the gospel.
Hear and feel his spirit.
Right.
So, new covenant.
Oh, absolutely.
Jeremiah 33.
Amen. But it's
Ezekiel
through the
36.
preaching of the gospel. That means that you and I need to be out. And as I said, I was challenged by that. I was never out until 4 years ago. And when God impacted my heart, because it is through that preaching. We need to pray, for sure. But prayer by itself is useless because we're being disobedient to what God has called us to do, to go into all the world and make disciples, teaching them all that he commanded. And so if we're not doing that and we're just saying, Lord, change the nation, well, he's hearing a hollow prayer because he's not being able to use us to go into the culture. So we need to be able to go into the culture. We know when, where, and how children are being murdered, and Christians don't show up. We know that there's a sodomite parade today in Roseburg, and Christians won't show up. We know that there's all these things in our culture going on, and we won't show up and preach the life-saving gospel. We want to say, well, come into my building, and then maybe you'll hear a message. And that's not what Christ died for. That's not what Apostle Paul taught. He said, go. He says, follow after me. Look what I'm doing. I'm sending you out by twos. Or look what I'm doing. I'm going into all these places, and I'm going to be beaten, and I'm going to be stoned, and I'm going to be shipwrecked, and all these things, all this persecution, and all this suffering will come upon you if you follow me. There's no suffering. There's no suffering in America. You want to suffer, go stand at the Pride Parade today in Roseburg, and you'll be kicked and hit and spit upon by these people that say they are loving and they want diversity and they want to celebrate all these things. You go tell them what God said and you will be persecuted. But there's no Christians. There's not many Christians today in America. I just got back from Turkey and Greece and I was cut to the heart. I went to the 7 churches of Revelation and I stood in those places going, God, these were men that stood in the face of the Roman Empire, that stood in the face of the Jews and the Sanhedrin and all these people, and were stoned and were beaten. And they said, you know what? God's in charge.
Amen.
And I know that's where your heart
Keep it
is.
up.
But
Yeah.
come join us. You know the people down here in this area,
Yeah.
John and the rest of them. Come join them.
God bless you.
God bless you.
Like, that's gonna work. We did that in Pride. They said, nope, can't come across the bridge. Like, sorry, we're coming across the bridge. We're gonna stand here, and they wouldn't let us go any farther. I went, okay, well, I'm not gonna